I guess I'm just like binging a bunch of GameCube games because I was feeling it. I was feeling going back and playing some nostalgia, and I thought, you know what? Why not? You know what? In fact, let's go back and play Bomberman. Good old Bomberman Generations. But I'm gonna be honest, I feel like Bomberman's been done kind of dirty. He's had a couple like single player adventure type games, but like a lot of his stuff has like just gone back to like just the old arcade style of Bomberman games. I don't know if there's been anything since Generation that's actually been anything remotely like it. And that's kind of disappointing to me because like I liked those games. I think there were like a couple for N64, but I don't have those. I like rented them from like what was it, like either Blockbuster or Hollywood Video, back when that was a thing. But yeah, Bomberman Generation I have, which I'm happy about because I like that game. You would think like a game about just putting bombs down and whatever would like how you transfer that, but this actually works. I wouldn't say it's like amazing or groundbreaking or anything. Pretty straightforward and simple, but I like it for what it is. The whole plot is like these MacGuffins have been stolen and you got to go get them back. So it's kind of like you have like individual levels. So you've got areas and then like how do you say it? It's like world 1, 2, 3, then area 1 through 6 or whatever, 5 or I don't know. But you have areas within areas. It's kind of like a level based. So like for the first 3 areas, I think it's 2 levels, then a boss, and then 2 more levels, then another boss. And then I think a couple later levels are like 1 area boss, 1 area boss. So it's a GameCube game, so it's like what more do you expect? But you basically go along these pretty linear paths, but there's a couple spots where you can like break off to get some extra collectibles. They have these lightning cards, which I think there's only one thing you get from getting them all, so it's kind of like, why? What else does this do for me? And I think it only really plays into the multiplayer, which is just the standard Bomberman fare. But anyway, for the rest of the level, you can pick up upgrades to Bomberman, which are semi-temporary. So it's like if you get a game over and die, then you lose those and you have to recollect them. But it's super easy to recollect them, so it's not that big of a deal. I mean, you can get hearts too to like replenish your HP. And you can get heart containers, which increase your max health, but those are like super hidden. And I think there's only like a few in the game, and they don't respawn because like once you have them, you have them. And then the last type of collectible you can get has to do with Care Bombs, and what those are, it's basically like they're like these little Pokemon things. Like you pick one up, and then you can like battle it with other ones, but it's worse. it's just I'm not a huge fan of it. I'm a fan of the system, but not a fan of other parts of the system, I guess. Because Care Bombs, what they can do is give you upgrades to just your normal bombs, and that's great and all. Because like there's one that lets you detonate bombs at any point. There's ones that help you throw further, kick further, or there's one where you throw it and then it's like it homes in on enemies, and that's pretty cool. Later you can fuse them together, and then you can like double up on their benefits, and some of them gain extra third benefits, and it's great. But then you get to like the actually collecting the Care Bombs portion, and it's not the best because you like the battles. It's you pick one and then you select 3 attack patterns, and it's like attack, special, and defense, and in some order. And really, all that matters is yours like significantly over leveled compared to the other one? Then you win. Is it not? Then you're probably going to struggle. So it's like there's either no challenge whatsoever, or what happened with one of the early ones that I had to battle, which is the one that homes in on other stuff, and it was a nightmare. It sucked, and I hated it because it was so tough because I would have to go through levels multiple times in order to level up enough to like be strong enough to get this thing, and it was just a hassle because like you have to pick up Care Bomb feed throughout the level, and it's not a great system. I would have honestly just rather had it where it's like, just here, go and pick it up. Or have an actual mini game or like a mini boss that I can fight. The way it's done, I'm not a huge fan of it. But Care Bombs, generally, I do like as a system. You also get elemental bombs as well. And those are kind of frustrating because you have to, A, get to a spot where you play a mini game and then get the element. and then you have to find the spot that actually fuses the element and your bombs together, which just seems like kind of unnecessary, I guess. And the elemental bombs, they're really only useful once you get to like the 4th level, and past that, that's about it. I mean, you can technically do the first 3 levels in any order. There's a couple that are probably better for you to do earlier. Like, the first area, world, whatever you want to call it, gives you a bunch of tutorials on the first like level. So if you do one of the other levels first and you go back to it, then it's like, it's telling you how to play the game when you've already done a level. So it's like, why? Maybe you could have just taken that out if someone started with the other level. I don't know. But that said, regardless which level you do in whichever order, or even the later levels, the side character, Professor Ein, who's like, hey, you need to go do this. He's basically just like your kind of companion throughout the thing. He just like speaks to you through like a communication device. But like he never shuts up. He just never shuts up. Like he's always talking. Like you'll get to a spot and it'll be like, oh, there's like a puzzle I have to do. And then he's like, do this. And it's like, I don't need you chiming in. Well, because it's not just that he chimes in, which would have been like, I could have gotten over that. But he stops. Like you have to stop to listen to him say, do this. And it's like, I could have figured that out on my own, if I'm being perfectly honest. I don't know why you felt the need to point it out when I could have just done it. But, other than that, like there's plenty of puzzles that are, I wouldn't say like challenging. It's pretty much a kid's game in all facets. But, there's some puzzles that are like, okay, I got to use my brain a little bit for this. Like, I got to do more than just passively play it because, especially when you get to the 3rd area. Actually, I think there's one in the 4th or 5th. There's one in the 3rd area and the 5th area, where the one in the 3rd area, you have to like put bombs under these platforms and then boost yourself up this tower and then fall down and then boost yourself up again. And it's kind of it's a little confusing, but hey, it's a little bit more than just like, here, play the game. And then there's one in the 5th area where it's like you have to go through these tubes, and then there's this boss that rotates around. And if I'm gonna be honest, that boss sucked. There's actually a couple bosses that really suck in this one, because while you have to get upgrades for your bomb's firepower, when they're at lower levels, they suck. They're no good. Once you level them up a little more, they're bigger, but you can also hit yourself with your own bombs, which is a little frustrating because, my God, like there's so many instances where I hurt myself because I was like, I literally, like, I'm getting boxed into a corner. This is difficult to position. I don't know. But another like problem is when you're fighting against bosses, you pretty much, like mini bosses, it doesn't really matter, but bosses, you have to charge your bombs up to make a bigger bomb. That's the only way you can damage the like core bosses, which is a little frustrating because it's like, I'm like trying to dodge projectiles and I have to wait a few seconds for this bomb to charge up, and it's just, I don't know. I mean, you can block stuff, but it only blocks stuff in front of you. And then I got to a boss later on that just broke through that defense, which kind of sucked. But yeah, anyway, there's like 2 types of bosses besides mini bosses. You've got like the end of world bosses and the crush bombers. The crush bombers are like pretty goofy, wacky characters. They're pretty tropey for the most part. The first one is a big, dumb, but strong idiot. The second one is a girly girl who's like constantly got a spotlight on her. And the third one, he's like a Birdman. I'm not really sure what his deal is. The 4th one's crazy. And then the 5th one is like kind of smug, but also very powerful. And it like toys with you. And, I mean, they're pretty basic, but I think they're kind of endearing. A lot of like the end level boss designs are pretty creative. Like there's a 6-legged elephant thing. There's like a mummy sort of thing. I would say the worst one was the Area 2 boss, because you have to go through... A couple of the bosses end up with 2 phases. The Area 2 boss has 2 phases, and first phase is a boat, and you have to like hit these 3 panels. The only issue is there's tentacles that come out of the spots that you hit, and then they knock your bombs back, and it's like, okay, well, this is frustrating, but that part's kind of easy. That part I can deal with. The hard part comes from you can't really hurt that boss in its second phase unless it eats your bombs. But it won't always do that. It's only got like 3 moves, but the eating thing, it doesn't do that frequently. it would rather shoot like homing missiles at you and slowly slink towards you and then shoot more missiles at you, and it doesn't give you a chance. So it's just, that one is frustrating. Most of the other bosses are fine. Like even the last boss, I honestly had less trouble with, which is kind of weird because I used to have a lot of trouble with that boss too. Of course, that one has like, that one you can only hit with one type of bomb, and then it's got like 3 things rotating around it that'll hurt you, and you know, it's weird. But overall, I do like the game. I wish there was more like it because I would like some more innovation with Bomberman. Because honestly, I feel like he's such a classic that he deserves it. And some of those like single player adventure games were pretty decent. And I think like if they kept going at it instead of keep going back to that arcade style, they could probably do a lot more with it. And overall, I did have fun with the game, even through the frustrations. And the music's really good. If I'm going to be honest, the music's great. I feel like it was just kind of a blast of nostalgia to listen to some of the level themes again. Yeah, overall, it's a decent game. It's a fun time. Nothing too complex or deep, but I like stuff that sticks out for gameplay wise. And even though the Bomberman has a few frustrations to me, it worked. I liked it. I just wish there would be like more games like this for Bomberman. But what can you do? Anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.